Hi there, I'm Jane. This is my YouTube channel, Little Loops Knitting. Welcome or welcome back if you've been here before. Today's video is going to be the first in what I plan to be a series of like regular updates about my knitting. So it will follow the podcast format that I enjoy watching, which is I'll talk you through my finished objects, starting with what I'm wearing, and then my works in progress, and then any other like yarn acquisitions or just anything else at the end. I'll start with what I am wearing then. So I talked about this in my last video. My last video, if you haven't seen it, it was just I talked about all of my works in progress from the past year basically. This one was very, very close to being finished at the end of last year. I think I literally just had like a few more rows of the neckline to do and just casting off the body edge as well. So I'm not going to talk too much about it today because I did talk a lot about it last time. This is the Sycamore sweater by PetiteKnit. I knitted it without the kind of Japanese short row stripes that are in the original pattern. I just knitted it in a plain colour. So I'll talk about the yarn that I used first quickly. I've got some left over that I'll show you. So I used 3 yarns held together for this, and they're all by Isager. This one is the Isager Tweed, and this is the colour Lime, I believe. And this is like a 4-ply tweedy yarn. And I think it's just wool, 100% wool perhaps. But yeah, there's, I think 50 gram skein, there's 200 meters. So yeah, just a classic 4-ply. The second one I used was this one. And this is the Alpaca 2 by Isager, which is an alpaca and merino blend. I will double check that to make sure I get that right. It's a more lightweight 4-ply. It's every 50 gram skein has 250 meters, I believe. So it's a bit lighter weight. And the third yarn I used was the Isager Silk Mohair, and I can't remember the color number for this one. I think it was 57, but it's a very popular color. It's this beautiful shade of like lime green. So I used all of these held together, and this is the result. So this yarn combination is the exact yarn and color, I think, combination used in the sweater number 25, I think, by my favorite things knitwear. And that is because I knitted that jumper first, and then I unraveled it, and then I knit this one instead because I didn't like the fit of the sweater number 25. It was too oversized and baggy, and I just didn't find it comfortable to wear. So I'm really, really happy that I did that. I'm really happy I made that decision to unravel it. You know, this yarn is beautiful, and I didn't want to have a jumper that I just wasn't 100% happy with. Whereas this one, it fits beautifully. It has a kind of saddle shoulder construction. At the beginning, you only increase for the body, not the sleeves. And then when you get to like the edge of the shoulder, you start to increase for the sleeves, but you know, not the body. And then when you get to about here, you start to increase both the sleeves and the body. So it creates this really nice kind of sort of like a set-in sleeve effect. And it's just created a really well-fitting jumper in my opinion. I would definitely use this pattern again with or without the stripes. The pattern itself, it was like I say, it was quite easy to follow. The instructions for the Japanese short rows are written out line by line, and they include like the increases at some points. So if you're not doing the Japanese short rows, you need to do a little bit of like working out to see how many increases you missed in the section that you skipped basically. So if you are a complete beginner, I wouldn't recommend this as your first project. I would recommend something like the Terrazzo sweater by PetiteKnit, which has a very similar construction. Quite a similar gauge. I think there's maybe like 1 stitch difference, but that is just designed to be knit in a solid color. But I would definitely knit this again. I love the way it fits. I'm kind of undecided about the roll neck because like I love the idea for roll neck, and I've not knit a roll neck jumper before. But with the mohair and the alpaca, I find that like I do get like bits of fluff in my eyes, which isn't ideal. And Also, it does kind of slouch down a bit, like it's obviously got my microphone on it, so that is making it slouch a bit more. It is, although, a very handy place to clip my microphone onto, because this is a very cheap microphone and it only works at a very close range. But I think just because the yarn is quite soft, it doesn't have much structure to it, so therefore the neck just always slips down anyway when I knit it. And that's fine, but I kind of prefer when it looks a bit more like structured. So I'm kind of undecided whether I'm just going to like turn it into a folded neck jumper. I might wear it a few more times and see what I think, but it's so nice to wear like under a coat, because I just feel so cozy when I wear it. And I would also use this yarn combination again. It's just really beautiful, and I think the colour that it creates is so interesting because you've got all these 3 different colours mixed together, and also with the tweeds of this one, it just creates a really cool effect. Okay, the next finished object that I have was also a work in progress from my last video. So it was really nice to go through all my works in progress and kind of dig out some of the projects that I'd forgotten about, because this was one of them. In the last video, I showed one of these socks, and I'd knit it about a year and a half ago maybe, and I just completely put off doing the second one for no reason really, because I was really happy with this sock. So yeah, after filming the last episode, I decided to knit the second sock. So now I have a pair of socks, so that's good. I'm very happy. Again, I spoke about them a fair bit in my last video, so I won't go into too much detail with them. But I didn't follow a pattern for these. The design though was one that I had seen in a knitting shop, the shop where I bought the wool for the socks. And so I just try to recreate them. So it's basically just a striped sock, but along the cuff I've got these little heart pattern. And I used 2 different yarns for this. The white yarn was a sock yarn by Lang Yarns, and I can't remember the exact name, but it was the sock yarn with silk in it. I think Jawoll silk. So that was the white. And for the colours, I used a colour changing yarn, and I've got the rest of the ball here. So this is the Crazy Zauberball by Schoppel Wolle, and I think this is the colour Blasser Schimmer. I don't have the tag anymore, but I looked it up, and I think that's the name of this colour. And I've still got most of this left. I weighed it after I finished, and I've got about 75 grams left. So that's nearly, well, that's 3/4 of a ball. So I could definitely get like another pair of socks out of this. So I'm quite pleased about that as well. It's interesting when you're knitting them to see like what colours you're going to get. I was really hoping to get a bit of this pink when I was knitting these socks, but it just didn't come out at all. So if I knit another pair of socks, I've got that to look forward to. Yeah, I did an afterthought heel for these because I didn't follow instructions. I didn't like look up how to do the afterthought heel. All I did for it was I left stitches on hold for here, and then I just like picked up the stitches here and then just kept knitting. And then I went back and slipped those stitches back onto my needles and then picked up stitches along this edge to knit the afterthought heel. That is not the correct method. I don't know whether that is a method that people use. It could be, it might not be. It worked. It's maybe not the most efficient way of doing it, but it worked for me anyway. I'm a little bit upset because when I wore these for like the first or second time, I stepped in a puddle, so they are a bit stained on the bottom, which I'm always so careful. Like if it's raining, I won't wear my hand knit socks because just in case the water gets into my boots. My boots do have a lot of holes in them as well, so I also try not to wear those if it's raining. But it wasn't raining. I think there was just like a burst pipe in the street, so I was crossing the road and the puddle was a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be, and I could just feel my boot fill with water, and my first thought was like, my socks are ruined. So yeah, never mind. I try not to get too precious about my knitted socks. Like I do take care of them, but out of all of my knitted items, you know, they go on my feet and I walk a lot, so they get worn a lot. But to me, like, that's what they're for. Like, I don't knit them so I can just keep them in a box and look at them. I knit them so I can wear them and get use out of them. So, you know, and it's on the sole of the foot as well. So it's not really like too much of an issue, I don't think. They're just not that pretty anymore to show off. Okay, so my next finished object, I think my last one from this month, is one that I hadn't even started in the last video. It was quite a quick knit. I'll show you. So it's another PetiteKnit pattern. It is the Oslo hat. So, you know, it's an Oslo hat, it's PetiteKnit, it's one of the most popular designs from one of the most popular designers. There's not much new to say about this. Well, I do have a fair bit to say about it, even though it is such a basic pattern. If you are new to knitting, you will become very familiar with this hat because it's everywhere. And, you know, for good reason, I think. It's a great pattern. I've knitted 3 of these now. So basically, like, it's been very cold in the UK this month. I mean, it is January, so that's to be expected. But there was one week where it was snowing a lot and it was just particularly cold. And I'm not really a big hat person because I find it difficult to find hats that fit my head. I also find it difficult to knit hats that fit my head as well. Yeah, where to start with this one? So I'll talk about the yarn first. This was a yarn that I had in my stash for about 3 years, maybe not that much, maybe 2 years. It was either 2 or 3 years, a long time anyway. And I got the yarn planning to make a hat with it. It is from Lana Gatto and it's called VIP, and it's like a merino and cashmere blend. It is so soft, it is beautiful, I love it. I only got 2 skeins of it though, which I knew wouldn't be enough for an Oslo hat, but that's the pattern that I really wanted to make. And unfortunately, it seemed to be sold out everywhere. Like, it was sold out in the shop that I bought it from. I don't think they even stock it anymore. And when I had a look online, it seems like no shops in the UK stock it. I could be wrong. If you know anywhere in the UK that stocks this yarn, please let me know, because I love it so much and I'm really sad that I can't get any more of it, because I really would love to use it again for other projects. The skeins are, they're 50-gram skeins and there's 200 meters per skein. Now the Oslo hat uses 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. The recommended ones are Filcolana Arwetta and Sandnesgarn and Sunday. And I think they both have like a slightly longer meterage than this one as well. So I knew that I wouldn't have enough yarn for it, basically. So what I did, so this has a triple folded brim. So I used different yarns in the bits that are hidden so that I could get away with using my 2 skeins of VIP. So this one here, this is a hand-dyed yarn that I just had a little bit of. And I cast on with that yarn because this bit is this is the cast on edge, and then you kind of knit this big tube basically and fold it over. So I think if you have to knit like maybe 20 centimeters, I knit about 8 centimeters just so that I would have a little bit of the red here. So when I fold it over, it won't show through. And then when I got to the, like past the brim and to this part of the hat, I used, I think this is the leftover sock yarn from my last pair of socks. So it's the Lang Jawoll silk. So it's like a merino silk nylon blend. And I wanted to use the softest yarn for this part because this is the part that's going to be like touching my forehead. So that's where you want the soft yarn really. Like this one is never going to touch my skin. So I don't really mind if that's not very soft. Whereas I wanted to have like the cashmere like close to the brim. And again, I chose like the softest yarn from my leftover 4 plies and went with that one because it's got the silk in it as well. I always get worried that this the white bit is going to show through. I mean, I just about got away with it. This is what I had left over, so I just about made it. I do kind of wish I'd made the bigger size because it is a bit tight on my head. I made the second biggest size. but I don't think I would have had enough yarn to make the biggest size. So I said that I'd made this pattern twice before. The first time I made it, I used Filcolana Arwetta, and I think I made the second biggest size that time too. And I used a 3.5mm needle, which was the recommended one for the pattern. I did also swatch, and I decided that was the one to go for. After I blocked the hat, it grew so much. Like, it was so floppy on my head. It was in this kind of lilac-y purple as well. So it just reminded me of like Dopey from the Seven Dwarfs, which was not the look that I was going for. So yeah, it kind of became unwearable, which was such a shame. The second time I knitted it for my dad as a present, and I used Sandnes Sunday that time. I used the same needle size, and I didn't block it because I was really scared that the same thing would happen, but then, if he washes it, then it might it might grow a lot. I'm hoping that one won't grow as much though, because I think Filcolana Arwetta is a superwash yarn, and superwash yarns just in general, they are known to grow more after blocking, whereas Sandnes Sunday is a non-superwash merino. So hopefully it will keep its shape a bit better. And he really likes it anyway, like he wears it all the time. So I think that one worked out fine. But yeah, I was worried about this one being too big again. So I went down to a 3mm needle, and I decided to do that rather than just go down a size, because I think I prefer the way that the yarn looks on a smaller needle. Like, it creates a tighter fabric with a bit more structure. So I thought it would be less likely to lose its shape if I just use a smaller needle rather than going down a size. Weirdly, the day after I finished knitting this, I got an email through from PetiteKnit with an update on the Oslo hat. So she's updated the pattern, and now I think it just uses a 3mm needle. I think that's the recommended needle size now, which is so strange because that's what I decided to do. So I guess I did the right thing. It kind of gave me a bit of validation that I made the right decision. I remember other people saying when I knitted my first Oslo hat that they had found it to be too big too. So clearly this was like a common thing that was happening. So she must have decided to like revise the pattern. It is a little bit tight on my head, like it does fit, but it does kind of like squeeze my head a little bit. So I'm kind of hoping that it's going to loosen up a bit, but if not, I might just give this to my daughter or give it to someone else. It's such a shame though, because I really love it. Like, the yarn is just so soft. It's heavenly, and I love the color as well. The color is so pretty. It's fine to wear, but I think it might leave me with a little like imprint in my hair of where the hat has been, just because it is like ever so slightly too tight, which is a shame. But someone will get use out of it. Okay, I'm going to go on to talk about my works in progress now. So the first one that I'm going to talk about, I don't think I had started in the last video, so I've not shown it before. And it's this little cardigan for my daughter, and it's knit in 1x1 broken rib. I have knit one of these before. I showed that in my first video, the Everything I Knit in 2024 video. The pattern, unfortunately, is not available to download. I got it as part of a knitting kit that some family members brought me back from Norway. It came from a shop in Bergen. The shop's called Strikkelykke, and I think it was just called like the Strikkelykke jacket. It was just a pattern that they wrote themselves for the knitting kit. And it's just like a simple raglan cardigan knit in 1x1 broken rib. So I'm sure there probably will be a similar pattern out there. I've tried looking on Ravelry to find one. I haven't found one yet, like just if you wanted to knit something similar. I think it would be kind of fairly easy to adapt just a stocking stitch raglan sleeve cardigan and just include 1x1 broken rib. 1x1 broken rib is really simple to do. It's just a 2-row pattern repeat. On the right side, you knit the first row, and then the second row on the wrong side, you do 1 by 1 rib. So knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then you just repeat that. And so it's quite nice with a cardigan because it's the same knit flat as it is in the round, because you're doing 1 knit row and then on the wrong side it's the 1 by 1 rib. If you make sure to knit the rows on the right side, it also means that when you do your raglan increases, you don't have to think about whether it's a knit increase or a purl increase, because they're always knit increases. It's just when you knit the wrong side, you just have to remember when you get to the raglan sections whether you're doing a knit or purl afterwards. So it helps if you're able to like read your knitting, so you can tell from the row below what one you need to do next. But it was fairly easy to knit, and I think it would be, as I say, like fairly easy to hack if you're an experienced enough knitter, maybe not as your very first project. The yarn that I'm using for this, it's another one that I've had in my stash for about 3 years at least, and it's the Feeling Good yarn by Wool and the Gang. And this is the shade Lilac Powder. I think it's Lilac Powder. And yeah, I mentioned this yarn in my last video as well. It's funny because I really don't shop at Wool and the Gang very often anymore. I used to more when I kind of got back into knitting a few years ago, and I got a lot of like this yarn because it's quite a lightweight Aran weight. It's kind of one of these blow yarns, so it's got like this fluffy texture, and I'm knitting it on 4.5mm needles, which works quite well, I think, for the pattern. I think it's going to be so soft, and I'm hoping that it's going to be like a nice lightweight spring cardigan once it's finished, which should hopefully be quite soon. I always think that knitting for children will be super quick compared to like knitting for me, and I guess it is in a sense, but it takes a lot longer than I always expect. I guess she is growing as well, so like everything that I knit for her is going to have to be bigger than before, so it just always takes longer than I think. I really love knitting things for her, but I always get a bit sad when she grows out of them, so that's like one of the reasons that I don't knit more for her. But I'm trying to do more knits for her because they do look so cute, and it's really nice that she likes wearing them as well. So I need to take advantage of that. Well, she still likes wearing my knits, because that she might not always enjoy wearing them. Okay, next, work in progress. I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I did mention it in my last video. I've also not made that much progress since the last video, but it is the Cumulus tee by PetiteKnit. So I'll just get it out to show you. So this is how far I've got. I mean, there's really not that much difference from the last time I showed it. I've maybe done like a couple of centimeters here. So I have made progress, I promise you. It's just not very noticeable. I have also, I've joined a new ball of yarn though, so that proves that I have made progress. I think it's just very slow progress. I thought this would be a good one to work on while I like watch TV, because it is just like knitting, stocking stitching around. But because of like the small needles and the yarn, I'm using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I find anyway that I do need to watch what I'm doing when I'm knitting it. I do need to look at my stitches, otherwise I find it very easy to either split the yarn, because the yarn, it does split quite easily, and also just I find that I drop stitches if I don't look at it. So it's getting there. It will get there. I hope that I'll finish it in the next month, because I have a holiday coming up and I would love for it to be finished for that. But I also don't want to like stress myself out knitting it. And I also don't want to fall into the trap of knitting it far too cropped, because I'm impatient to get it finished. I have done that before. So yeah, that's my second work in progress. My next one is another project that I hadn't started in my last video, but I did mention it. So I'll show you that now. So yeah, as you can see, I've not made that much progress on this one. But this is the Sol top by Rose Knitwear. and it's another summer top. It's a vest, or it's going to be a vest top, knit and stocking stitch, but it's got some like interesting details around the neckline that I really like. I really like the folded edges, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting to that part. The yarn that I'm using is this one, this big beast of a skein. It's by Noro, it's Kakigori. Can't remember the colour. I will try and find out online. I probably still have the tag somewhere. I kept it because it was so pretty. But yeah, I'll try and find what the colour was and I'll put it in the description. It reads quite pink, but it's got a lot of blue in it as well. And yeah, just lots of different flecks of colour. It's got a bit of teal in there as well. It's so fun to knit with because it's just so interesting to see how it's going to like translate into a fabric and see what colours you're going to get next. So I am enjoying knitting this. I only started it 2 nights ago, I think. So this is like, I didn't really do much knitting last night because I was too tired. So this is basically like one evening's progress. So the pattern recommends 4.5mm needles. I'm using 4mm needles because I think with this yarn it would work better on smaller needles just to create a more, give the fabric a little bit more structure. And I've gone up one size to kind of counter that. So hopefully this will work out. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. As I say, I've got this holiday coming up in March, and you know, it'd be nice to have some summer tops to wear. It might not be that hot. I'm going to the south of Spain, so I did used to live in the south of Spain, and I do remember it being warm in March. At least it'll be hotter than it is in the UK. So, you know, it'd be nice to finish it for then. If not, you know, it's not a big deal. I hope to have it finished for summer at least. So yeah, that is my sole top. Okay, next, work in progress. This one's quite exciting. I talked about the sock that I'd knitted for my partner in the Everything I Knit in 2024 video. So I did finish those in time for Christmas, and this is one of them. He has worn them a few times, so they've gone a bit out of shape, so please excuse that. I've kind of tried to recreate this Argyle like diamond motif. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I am writing this one into a pattern, so I've started knitting a second sample, but in the pattern I want to include instructions for like an all over colour work version as well, so you can choose between having just colour work around the leg or all over. And I also want to include instructions on like how to change colours, so I thought it would be a really good pattern for like the leftover bits of sock yarn that you kind of accumulate over time if you are an avid sock knitter. So that's what I've done with my second sample. This is the result. Oop. I've only knit one so far. I'm about to start the second one. But yeah, it's interesting really, because these are not the colours that I would have, like if I were buying yarn to make a sock like this, I wouldn't necessarily have chosen these colours or like paired them together in this way. I just kind of got together all my leftovers and realised that actually I did have enough different colours to make a sock. So I thought I'd just go with it and see how it worked out. I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colours. Is that right? Have I counted those properly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 colours in this one. But in theory, you could use as many colours as you like. You could just use 2 colours for it all. You could use, you know, 3 and just kind of start again after every third colour. In the pattern, I'm going to include instructions for 4 colours. But the idea is that it will show you how and where to change colours. So you could add more colours to that if you wanted to, or you could do 4 colours. So that's the plan. I've almost finished writing it up. I'm going to do a call for testers soon. By the time I release this video, I might have finished writing it up. So I'll put a link to like a Google form in the description. So if you are interested in testing this, you know, you can register your interest there. But I expect it to be ready in the next week or 2 from when I'm filming this. So today it's the 28th of January today. So yeah, a week or 2 from there. So yeah, I am really happy with how this turned out. Like I said that I wouldn't have necessarily chosen these colours if I was picking yarn, but I think it's also interesting just to see like how different colours work together. Like I would have never put this green with this like burgundy together, but I quite like how they look together. And whereas here with the pinks and the blues, I don't think this bit works as well as I thought it might, because especially with the pink and the lilac, there's just not enough contrast there, whereas everywhere else you do get stronger contrast. So it's just an interesting kind of exercise in, you know, going out of your comfort zone with colours and learning about what colours work and what doesn't work. So I am really happy with the overall effect though. So I will make the second one soon, write up the pattern, and then hopefully start test knitting it if anyone is interested. Okay, so I think that's all of my works in progress from this past month. There is another one, but I'm not going to show it because it's a present for somebody. It's highly unlikely that she'll be watching, but you never know, just in case. So I will take pictures of it though once I've finished and talk about it in the next video. Okay, so finally, I do have a lot of like swatches this month. I was in a real swatching mood. I think just because like in November, December, I was working on a lot of gift knits, and they obviously had like the deadline that I had to be finished for Christmas. So once they were all finished, I just kind of had this sense of freedom and like, oh, I can knit whatever I want now. So I just wanted to like swatch for lots of different things. I do really love swatching. I know some people hate swatching. I really enjoy it. Like I've mentioned before that I don't always find my swatches to be that accurate in terms of tension, because especially when I knit Fair Isle, I think my tension changes when I have more stitches on the needle, which doesn't really help. So if I knit a swatch, it might not be an accurate representation of what the finished object will look like. But I still just really enjoy, you know, when you get some new yarn, knitting a few swatches, it's just really fun to see like what the yarn looks like and how it works in different stitch textures. So I will start with this swatch. I don't know how well you would be able to see this because it's quite a dark grey and the lighting is really bad right now. It's a very miserable grey day. But hopefully you can see, it'd help if I was showing you it the right way around. So it's a little lace swatch. This is not the colour that I'm planning on using. This was just leftover yarn that I had. So I just wanted to see what the pattern would look like with this yarn to see if it was a possibility for like when I make it, but I will choose a different colour. The yarn first, it's Filcolana Saga, and I held it double. And the pattern is going to be a lace cardigan. So basically it's the same lace pattern that I used on my Giverny socks, which I released at the end of last year. I want to make a cardigan version of it. So this swatch was basically just to see how the lace pattern worked with this yarn, to see if it was a contender for knitting it in. And I do really like it. It's quite a fluffy yarn. It's lamb's wool, and they come in 50-gram skeins, and there's 300 meters per 50-gram ball. So I held it double, so it's as a double knit, it's kind of a lightweight double knit because you get 150 meters per 50 grams if you knit it double. And I wanted to have like a lightweight yarn for it, and I wanted to have a mohair free version. I kind of want to knit two. Basically, I want to make one with mohair and one without. So this is kind of my mohair free swatch. And yeah, I am happy with how it worked out. That might be a contender for the yarn that I use for it, but I've not 100% decided yet. I haven't bought the yarn yet. I'm still deciding. Okay, second swatch is this one. So this is half fisherman's rib, and I've just like done some increases just to see how it's going to work. There's also a little bit here of like double knitting, because basically this is another cardigan that I want to knit, and I wanted to just see how the double knit button band would work with the half fisherman's rib. I knitted this like at the same time as knitting the half fisherman's rib, because you kind of need to knit double the amount of rows with half fisherman's rib. So therefore my idea was that I could knit like an integrated button band. So instead of picking the stitches up at the end for the button band, you could just knit it as you go, because double knitting kind of has a similar row gauge to half fisherman's rib. The only issue with doing that though is the buttonholes. You need to know where the buttonholes are going to be before you start. And because of that, I've decided not to bother. I'm just going to like pick up the stitches at the end and then knit the double knitted button band as normal, because then that way I can like work out how long it is and then work backwards from and find out where I want the buttonholes to be. The yarn that I used for this is this one. It's West Yorkshire Spinners Colourlab DK. The colour is called Very Berry. I love this shade of pink so much. I've had my eye on this particular colour of this yarn for so long. Like, it's the perfect like bright pink. So I finally got some, and yeah, I just couldn't wait to start swatching with it. So I think this is going to be, as I say, it's going to be a cardigan and half fisherman's rib. But yeah, I'm very excited about that. Okay, the final swatch that I'm going to show you today is this one. And in my last video, if you didn't watch it, I talked at the end about a few patterns that I wanted to make, and this one has been on my radar for so long. It's been on my wish list. It's the sweater number 12, I think, by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and it's like it's a raglan jumper knit in all over like 1x1 broken rib, and it's got stripes as well. So I think it's the kind of thing that I would wear all the time. It's not the most exciting, but it's just a kind of good everyday staple. And I've been wanting to make this for a while. I've not decided what yarn I want to use. I know that I want to make a mohair free version. So I'm thinking of either a double knit merino or like 2 strands of a 4-ply merino. The reason that I'm thinking of using 2 strands of 4-ply rather than 1 strand of double knit is so that I can use 2 slightly different but similar shades held together to kind of create a more interesting effect. So this one I just knit in like leftover Sanniscarn Sunday that I had from other projects, just to see whether I liked that yarn for the project. I am really, really happy with this swatch, and it's made me really want to cast it on now. I don't have the yarn yet, but I probably will go for this one. So the colours that I used, I think this was 1 strand of almond and 1 strand of light beige, and this was, I think, like the dark navy. I just used the same colour for the navy. I didn't mix them up. I'm not sure if I'll use exactly the same colours when I make it. I do really like how this looks, but I might go for like just like a marzipan or an off-white and another similar but different off-white and hold them together. I think the light beige is slightly darker than I want it to be, but I do really love this swatch and I really want to make it into a jumper soon. See, this is why I love swatching, because it's like you get a little preview of your jumper, which is so exciting, and it's like I just kind of like sticking it on and kind of imagining what it will look like as a jumper. Okay, the final thing that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to show you some yarn that I've got this month. So first up is this one, which I'm so excited about. It's from Zakami Yarns. They're a hand dyer based in Scotland. This is their winter solstice mini set. I think they released this like December, January last year, so like 2023, 2024. And I really loved it at the time, but I didn't buy any, and I didn't sign up for like the pre-order or anything. At the time, I wasn't sure. I already had like a lot of other projects on the go. I mean, I do now as well. And I kind of kept checking their shop like every so often throughout the year just to see if they had any online, but they never did. So I just left it. But then I saw on like their Instagram page a couple of weeks ago, they were having a sale, and they specifically mentioned like this this set. And because I hadn't got it last year, and I'd been thinking about it all year and like wishing that I'd got it basically. Yeah, I just got the double knit mini set. The original idea that I had for this yarn was making like a colour work yoke jumper, something like this less sweater by PetiteKnit. I'm not 100% sure that I would have enough here to make that. I mean, I definitely won't have enough for the whole jumper. I'll need to get like another colour for the main colour, but just for the colour work section, there's 45 meters per 20 gram mini skein. And I've been looking on Ravelry, and there are some people who have like given very specific details about how much yarn they use. I'm very grateful to those people. Thank you so much. I kind of worked out that I should have enough to make my size, but I might be playing yarn chicken with it. I'm not sure. I'm thinking I'll just try anyway, because you knit the colour work part first. So if I run out, I don't know, I could just like use a different colour if I run out. I don't know how obvious that would be. I haven't decided exactly what colours I'm going to use, because you have 5 colours in the whole pattern. So you have the main colour, and then there's 4 extra colours for the colour work yoke. So I've got 5 mini skeins here. I'm thinking about doing like a navy though for the main colour. So I might just like leave this one out and do these 3 for the yoke, or maybe I'll leave that one in. I think definitely I'll use this one because I need like to have a bit of contrast, and maybe one of either the red or the orange, because yeah, they are quite low contrast and it might not work. I haven't decided yet. I'd also quite like to do a contrast colour for the neckline, rather than doing like the main colour for the neckline. And in that case, I definitely wouldn't have enough of whichever colour I choose. It'd probably be this one that I chose. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do there. I might just like try and find a similar colour of another yarn just to continue it. It might work. But I've not even got the main yarn yet, so I'm not anywhere close to starting this one. So I've got time to decide. So I'm going to have like a think about what I want to do, and maybe do a couple of swatches and see how all the colours look together, because it might turn out that I don't really like how they all look together, or that there's not enough contrast, or you know, I might just find another project that I want to use this for, where I get to use all 5 colours and I don't have to worry about running out of them as well. Okay, so almost done. 2 more yarns to show. They're both sock yarns, and you'll see that there is a common theme between them. So this is the first one. It is another West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It's just their signature 4-ply, and this is in the colourway Robin. So West Yorkshire Spinners have like a whole range of like bird themed sock yarns, and I really love robins. And when I saw this, I just couldn't resist. I had to get some. So, you know, that will become a pair of socks. Not much else to say about it right now. Okay, the second one, also a sock yarn, and this is a hand-dyed yarn by Bird Street Yarn. I've never tried their yarns before, but they've got some really beautiful colours, and this one is called Rockin' Robin. So as you can see, there's a bit of a robin theme going on. It is kind of Christmassy, but I don't feel like it's going to be overly Christmassy, that I won't be able to wear them like throughout the year. So again, this is going to be a pair of socks, probably just a pair of vanilla socks. I might use my Penelope socks pattern again, or something similar like a ribbed sock. But yeah, I really, really love these colours together. I think it's going to be really beautiful. So that is my robin themed sock yarn collection. So yeah, I'm going to have 2 pairs of robin themed socks. So yeah, that is all my yarn that I've got this month, though, all of my works in progress. And yeah, as I say, this is going to be like a series of videos where I will kind of follow the same structure. I've not decided on a strict release schedule. Probably once a month feels like it will give me enough time, because I know some people do them every 2 weeks, and you know, I would like to do them more often, but I just don't think I'll have enough to talk about every 2 weeks. I think once a month is more realistic, and then it kind of would just make sense to do it at the end of the month, so have like a monthly roundup. But I'm not going to be too strict on that at the moment. It will really just depend on when I have the time to film, and also, yeah, just how much knitting I've done. Like I might not have very much to talk about next month. I might have loads. It just depends how much I've been knitting. But I will be back soon, and I might be back like in between these videos as well with like other kind of themed videos. So I'd like to go through all of my yarn stash, and I might end up making a video where I talk about all the yarn that I've got and the projects that I want to make with it. Kind of similar to with my last video where I talked about all my works in progress, it did kind of inspire me to finish some of them, which was a good thing. So I'm hoping that if I go through my yarn stash and show you all, it will inspire me to like use it up as well and realize that I actually have a lot of yarn, nice yarn that I do want to use. So I need to stop getting distracted by other projects. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for getting to the end. And thank you all for like your really lovely comments on my last videos as well. I really enjoy reading them and I found it really encouraging. So thank you. I'm glad that, you know, you are enjoying these videos. And as I say, I'll be back hopefully quite soon with more updates. So thank you. Bye bye and see you soon.